Welcome to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is a condensed version of today's episode of Undisputed, handpicked with the best segments and discussions. Skip, Shannon, let's go.
All right, Rob Parker is joining us this morning.
Uh-oh.
Thanks for being here.
What's happening? Good
Should
morning.
we already be worried?
We got a Rob alert here.
Rob alert. Okay, Rob, you're first. What do you expect from Lonzo this year?
Very little. And here's
Shocking.
Very little. But here's the thing. LeBron said you can't even tell, right? Everything, he looks great. This is what can't tell. How come he coming off the bench then? If he's fine and he can play, LeBron said you can't tell. Yeah. Why isn't he in the starting? Magic Johnson told all of us he was going to be the face of the franchise. Your jersey's going to hang up there with mine. Mm-hmm. All of this.
Reams and Shaq.
Yes.
Homies.
He went from that to, and granted, I'm not, injuries are injuries, and I get that. Right. But the expectations are just so low now. Anything he does, people will be happy with. But the bottom line is, if he's okay, as LeBron said he is, he should be the starting point guard on this team, not Rondo. This is not the playoffs or later on. Why isn't he playing with LeBron James from day one if he's the face of the franchise? And 4 years from now,
he was the face.
I know he was, not anymore.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. They don't even need a point guard. That's the thing about it when you think about what they got going. LeBron James handles the basketball most of the time. Mm-hmm. Skip, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so LeBron James is a facilitator and sets up his teammates. Mm-hmm. Then you have Rondo. And don't forget Ingram last year, Skip, when he took over the point guard spot. He played pretty well, didn't he, in handling the basketball?
Extremely well.
Well, we saw that the last game.
He did.
Right?
He went and got 30, and he was the primary ball handler.
He can do that.
They like him doing
Right.
it.
So the only thing left to me for Lonzo is that he's got to be able to knock down three-pointers when the ball comes to him.
Yep.
And if he's not able to do that, then he's going to be rendered worthless with this Laker team.
That's true.
So that's what he shot 30% last year from three. He also has to work on free throw shooting and taking the ball to the basket as well. 45% from the free throw line. Unacceptable for a guard.
Just for anybody.
Anybody in the NBA. Am I right?
Seriously,
You can't shoot that poorly.
Yeah, I mean, your center can't shoot that
That's
poorly.
Ben Wallace-esque.
Right. Chris Dudley. You remember Chris Dudley and some of the other guys. So I'm not expecting much, but I think fans will embrace anything that he can give because I just think the expectations have been lowered so much for Lonzo Ball. And people can say it's too early to say he's a bust and all the other things that they want to come up with. But I'm going to tell you, he's not nearly what was advertised, and the expectations that were way up here are now way down here. And now, not only that, when he got benched, you don't even hear his dad anymore. Do you hear?
Not yet.
You don't know. You're not going to hear.
Just wait.
You're not going to hear.
Just wait.
And I think the Lakers took care of that.
For me, I don't think the opportunities will be there for Lonzo to showcase what he can or can't do. This offense is going to be centered around Brandon Ingram and LeBron James. They're going to be the two with Rondo. So you got three primary ball handlers, Skip. So he's, at best case scenario, he's probably the fourth ball handler. And with that being said, he's probably going to be running with the second unit. So how does he get an opportunity to show running with the second unit what he can or cannot do?
Yep.
That's going to be that. I just don't see the opportunities there for him to show what he can do. And last year would have been a great time. But the injuries, he had that nagging injury, and then it ended up putting him down.
Yep.
He ended up having to have surgery on that knee.
He also had a bad shoulder for a while.
Right.
Because he weighed 190 pounds and he was getting knocked all over the floor. Go ahead.
And that's the biggest thing because, in college you play 35, 40 games. That's half an NBA season. And you play in basically every other night in the NBA against grown men. And you're not the best player. Because at UCLA, it's hard for me to believe that he ever played against someone, maybe Markelle Fultz or Kentucky had some guys that were maybe equal to, if not better than he was. But almost on a nightly basis, Skip, he was the best player on the court. Well, that was never the case when he played last year. So I just don't see the opportunities for him in order, and you believe that he can be great, but you need opportunities to be great.
I agree.
And I just don't know with LeBron
I'm with you.
with Brandon Ingram, because LeBron say he got next. talking about Brandon Ingram.
He did.
And Rondo is right now, and LeBron loves him because of his IQ, and he's battle-tested. So I just don't see the opportunity there, Skip.
So, Rob Parker made some great points that led to some dead wrong conclusions. But your opening salvo was great because you were right. This whole situation is utterly baffling to me. It makes zero sense what they're about to do or not do with the number 2 overall pick in the draft. Because you don't need Rajon Rondo on this team. Because if Lonzo's what I think he is, you can't stunt his growth for a year by just playing 10, 12 minutes a night. What is Rondo doing? Is he going to try to make the year look a little better than it should look with a bunch of kids and a bunch of cast-offs joining a great player in his 16th year? Is that what you're doing? Will Rondo just make it a little better to have a little better window dressing where the record will be 3 games better than it would have been without Rondo? Is that what you're trying to do? To your point, Brandon Ingram is really good with the ball in his hand. But your best point of all, and I've said this from the start about one LeBron James, he is still the best passer in basketball, and he is still the best point guard in basketball. Nobody's close to him. And you're right. When push comes to shove, when they're in some trouble, he's got to have the ball in his hands. He's got to initiate the offense.
Yes.
It's who he is,
100%.
what he does. Because nobody can get teammates better shots than LeBron.
Correct.
Because he's 6'9", so he can see over the defense the way Magic did. He can throw skip passes over the defense to open shooters on the far side. Nobody does it any better than LeBron does.
Right.
Nobody can get to the rim better than LeBron, which can create all kinds of opportunities for open shooters. So now you've got a logjam of 4 primary ball handlers and 1 basketball.
Right.
How are you going to do that? And the odd man out right now looks to me to be the number 2 guy, number 2 overall pick. And I don't get it.
And it makes no sense from the standpoint of, like you said, a number 2 pick who LeBron just said, what did he say? That he looks fine.
Right.
Like,
Okay, wait a second. Not only did he say that,
That's what he said.
But let's not bury the lead to this story. Just a day ago, I believe it was an Instagram post, he kinged him. He called Lonzo Ball Young King. And trust me on this, I don't think that's phony baloney because rare game recognizes rare game. Lonzo has some things you cannot coach or teach that LeBron has. The ability to see it before it happens and pass the basketball. He's got the gift, and he can also rebound the basketball at a high level. And he says he has gained not a few pounds, he says he's gained 20 pounds from 190 to 210.
He looks
Yeah,
heavier.
look at his face.
Shannon,
Look at it,
is that
right?
not significant weight
That's
gain?
very significant.
20 pounds?
He's heavier.
Trust me.
And basically what, in 3-4 months?
Okay, so again, this is pie in the sky, best of all worlds, but I was telling Shannon earlier, if Lonzo does get significant minutes running with LeBron, Lonzo can rebound the basketball like crazy. He could average 10 rebounds a game if you played him 35 minutes a game. So let's just do the hypothetical. If he goes up and gets the ball off the backboard and LeBron gets out on the wing, nobody can pass it better up court than Lonzo. It's like it's in his DNA. He loves that up court pass. If he gets LeBron in any kind of one-on-one or two-on-one at the other end of the court, it's over. It's nobody in this league can stop LeBron at 6'9", 260 with a full head of steam and get the basketball in an advantageous position. So they would be a great team together, but I don't see him playing. And I told Shannon this. What did Luke say yesterday? Lonzo's going to play anywhere between 10 and 30 minutes. Well, what does that mean? 10 and 30? And I think that sort of sums up Lonzo's upcoming year. He might play 10, but I don't know. On a rare night, he might play 30.
I think you're right, 10 or 13 or 15 minutes max.
And it's hard for a player to get in any kind of rhythm, not
You
knowing.
can't play like
Most
that.
guys like to know,
And I'm
okay,
gonna
I'm
say
getting
it
designated
one more
minutes.
time. Lonzo, you said he wasn't as advertised. Well, he wasn't given the chance after game number 2 to be as advertised because I'm going to remind you guys again, game number 2 at Phoenix on a Friday night. I watched the whole game. Lonzo just went off. I know it was just the Phoenix Suns, but he was
glad you said
but
that.
he was just 19 playing his second NBA game. Rob, he took the game over.
I remember the
he
game
scored
very vividly.
29. He had 13 rebounds and 9 assists. He almost had a triple-double. And in the fourth quarter, they just couldn't stop him getting to the rim.
I can't remember, Shannon, help me out. You might remember. Skip, I think, was it the Sacramento Kings? He also had a game where he missed
Okay, but
10 or 11
right,
three-pointers
okay,
where they basically sagged off of him. Do you remember that?
Okay, but that was later. But right
Was
away.
it the Kings? Was that
okay,
the game?
it was. But
Okay.
Luke Walton right away started yanking him mid-first quarter as the starting point guard and not putting him back in until mid-second quarter. You can't do that to a kid because you lose your rhythm and you lose your capability of leading the basketball team because they're like, he's not playing.
What would the perception be of Lonzo Ball had his dad not been LeVar Ball and made all these bold proclamations?
Totally different.
Whole different.
No kid has ever had a bigger target on his back than that kid did.
It was his dad that put these
I know.
expectations.
Well, we saw it game 1 when they
Patrick
played
Beverley.
Patrick,
Clippers.
right? I mean,
And Patrick Beverley ends the game pointing at LeVar in the stands.
LeVar, right? But
Who caused this?
come on, because when you pick up a guy at the
94
from the basket, I mean, you don't do that in the NBA, and that was a direct thing to LeVar. But this will be interesting. I just don't understand how you go from face of the franchise to you can't get on the court because Rondo, who's played a long time, and there's no diss to Rondo. But if you're going to do this with LeBron, why aren't you having
Maybe he'll soon be the face of another franchise. Seriously.
Which would get
It
Dad.
could be, Skip,
Talking.
because something's changed
I
since
know.
LeBron got
I
there.
agree.
All right, Rob, thank you as always for your insights.
No mercy.
Hey guys, Jenny Taft here. More of the Undisputed podcast is on the way, but first, a quick word from one of our sponsors. The fall's most kick-ass new drama is about to kick off. Wednesday, October 10th, the highly anticipated new series All-American premieres on the CW. Suspense and superhero mastermind Greg Berlanti, producer of massive hits like Riverdale and Black Lightning, is now about to kill it in the sports genre as well. Inspired by local football hero Spencer Paysinger, All-American is about a high school football phenom from South Central who gets recruited to play in Beverly Hills. Taye Diggs crushes it as Beverly High football coach Billy Baker, a former star player in his own right, who sees himself in Spencer. Coming off 2 losing seasons, he also sees Spencer as his ticket to job security. Billy promises Spencer the chance to someday go pro and give his family a better life. The relationship between a coach and player who each have everything to lose is the driving force behind some pretty intense drama, both good and bad. If you could draft a fantasy football team for fall TV, All-American would be in a league of its own. Catch the series premiere of All-American Wednesday, October 10th on the CW.
No mercy.
And staying in the NFC East, the 2-3 Cowboys have been struggling on offense, and a lot of the focus has been on their lack of a number 1 receiver. Jerry Jones said yesterday that the Cowboys have not had a number 1 receiver for several years, which seemed to be a shot at Dez Bryant. Jerry added that Dez has never been in the elite category like DeAndre Hopkins and Julio Jones. Well, Dez actually agreed with Jerry on Twitter, saying, as a receiver playing for the Dallas Cowboys, your mind has to be right because you will never see targets like AB, OBJ, and DeAndre Hopkins. None of those guys. I was never schemed into things. I made things happen throughout my career. I'm Mr. 73. They had Jason Witten as our number 1, so Jerry is right. Then, Dez was not happy with Shannon's tweet that Dez looks thirsty for his comments about the Cowboys. Dez tweeted, I reply back, I look thirsty. Tell me how. I get it. It's okay for y'all to say what y'all want and expect us players not to say anything back, even if it's positive, negative, or simply the truth. Create whatever narrative you like. I don't give a bleep. Let's make that clear. Busy guy on Twitter. Shannon, what is your take on Dez's comments?
Skip, now I swore I was going to be like Lil Duval, that I wasn't going to be going back and forth with these suckers.
Yeah.
And here I am going back and forth because Dez keep dragging me in this. Skip, I tweeted after what Jerry said. We touched on it a little bit yesterday. Jerry on his radio show said, we haven't had a number 1 receiver in several years. I tweeted, I said, I don't really know what else Dez need to hear from Jerry Jones to let him know they've moved on. Him, 8 days ago, someone tweeted Dez, who you signing with at Dez Bryant? I'd rather be a Dallas Cowboy.
He did.
Skip, they released you with not a salary restructure, with not a pay decrease. No. They flat out released you. A week ago, Jerry Jones, they asked Jerry, with the situation because the receivers, for whatever reason, they don't think they're getting open. Jerry says, no, we've moved on. He's posting things. He in silver and blue shorts. It's silver top and blue shorts. Come on, bro. And I said, you look thirsty. And you do. Jerry has moved on, and now Jerry says, we hadn't had a number 1 receiver. And first of all, Jerry, if you don't think Dez was elite like DeAndre Hopkins and AB, why the hell you pay him like he was? You gave him $14 million. Here's what Dez don't understand, Skip. Here, last year, Dez was 12th in targets. He was tied for 24th in catches, 26th in yards. Of the 72 qualifying receivers, Dez finished 65th in catch percentage. Dez had 132 targets. 132.
And led Dallas by far. Go ahead. Yep.
See, Dez is trying to absolve himself of this blame, and he says he's Mr. 73. You also Mr. number 1 too, Dez, as in one playoff victory. If you want your story told, tell it all.
We got robbed out of it.
Yeah, he won.
Yep.
Well, okay, you know what? On his resume, maybe they could put an asterisk by it, say he was robbed of another playoff victory. But in the meantime, what's on there is 1. He's Mr. number 1, as in one playoff win. That's on his resume. But Dad's got to stop there, Skip. I would rather be a Dallas Cowboy. Skip, they released you. They moved on. When the Broncos released me, and then I got released by the Ravens 2 years later, I wasn't calling them. They reached out to me. Would I be interested in return? Sure. There was no social media, but I wasn't taking no pictures with Ozzie. And hell, I like to think Ozzie and I are very good friends. One of the first guys that I wanted to meet when I got to the NFL. Come on, bro. You bigger than, and as I hashtag Dez, other teams pay too.
Oh.
Dallas Cowboys are not the only one.
Hashtag?
Yeah, I hashtag that. That's what
Do you hashtag?
Yeah.
Really? I
Thing
never
to do.
hashtag.
You don't never
Gotta
do
get with the
anything.
times.
Never hashtagged.
That's why they engaged me. They love me.
Really?
You see, David Allen Greer, what did he say? Oh, Shay Sharp. That's my guy, Shay Sharp.
He was doing that to get me.
It worked too.
Yeah.
But Skip, I don't know if you know what thirsty means, but Dez is
Where
thirsty.
did you get that word? Where did you come up
That's
with
a,
it?
you know,
Which,
that's
I know
a term.
what that means.
That's a term. That's a term that we use in our community.
Do you?
That signifies somebody, out there, Look at all.
You
know,
get it
kind of
from
like
what?
you when you posted them pictures with your shirt off.
Really?
You looking real thirsty.
thirsty for what?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
okay.
When you go to Urban Dictionary and look up the term thirsty. They'll give
You got it from one of your Twitter followers,
No.
right? Yeah.
Skip,
You learn a lot
I'm
from your
here.
followers. You engage because you learn. Oh, that's a good idea. Maybe I'll use that on Undisputed.
You got to go. You got to get
Aha.
out. You got to go get out, Skip.
Really?
You got to be inhabited in.
You need to be confident in your own thoughts.
Skip, where do you think all these words come from?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Make them up. Create them. Coin them.
Some of them I do.
Do you?
Some of them come from other people that we use. You didn't. Hold on. All the words that you use, you created them.
I create all these nicknames.
No, you didn't.
Yes,
you
I
didn't.
did.
You didn't create. Somebody else, you using it, right, Jenny?
Yeah, not every word, but
Exactly.
now I'm worried about you calling him thirsty.
Yeah, he was posting that stuff. You see him, Jenny?
Yeah.
He under like you're here.
I'm thirsty because I get dehydrated because I run so
That
much.
ain't what thirsty.
If I didn't run so much, then you'd see some pictures.
I think you and I have different definitions of thirsty.
Oh, okay. So, by the way, Dez, in his response to you, he typoed and said, I look 30. He didn't put the S in it. He does look 30, right? Doesn't he look 30? He looks every bit of 30, right? Because his body got beat up. So this is my big picture takeaway from all this. Dez Bryant is turning into one of the saddest stories I've ever watched unfold in the National Football League. And I go back a ways covering the National Football League. And obviously we're not talking about some life-threatening disease that he has or tragedy that he has suffered, but it's a football tragedy, what has happened to him. Because in 2014, he was it.
Yeah.
He was the guy. I was, on an old show, I'm just throwing up the X every day, because that was a year. I can argue it was the best year any receiver had that year. You were arguing that he was right there. He was first team all-pro, and he did get robbed at Green Bay in that playoff game, but we'll leave that be. But the point is, he was on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine. That's hard to do. You have crossed over in demographic into the world. Now everybody wants to know about Dez in Dallas. And off that, he gets his deal. He gets 5 years, $70 million, 43.5 guaranteed. God bless him for that, because he did get his money.
Yeah.
And he gets to he gets to keep that money, and I'm pretty sure he's okay money-wise. I'm going to hope he is. I hope he didn't squander that. But the point is, that was kind of the beginning of the end of him, because the next year he was just beat up all year long. He had the Jones fracture, and then this happened and that happened, and his body started to betray him, as most guys' body starts to betray. And he was a possession receiver, so he took a lot of shots. He didn't protect himself. It wasn't like he caught a slant and got down. You know, he's going to take some collisions. And then he only played 9 games in 2015, but 2016, just to put Jerry back in his place a little bit, Dez did make the Pro Bowl in 2016. I'm not saying he had a great year with Dak, but he had a pretty good one. He managed to play 13 games, and then in that playoff game against Aaron Rodgers, the one that Mason Crosby stole from them, Dez caught 9 balls for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. Is that a number 1 receiver? Yeah. I'd say that is. Yeah. So again, if you want to just go back to last year, he was a disaster last year. And to your point, by far the most targets on the team, as you said, the 12th most targets in the league. Well, don't tweet that you were schemed out of things, because you weren't.
Yeah.
How many times last year did I just cringe? I couldn't even watch because Dak dropped back and looked for the single covered 88. I'll throw it to 88, 88, 88, and you're throwing it down a dry well. That's what you're throwing, because he led the league in drops last year. So they definitely didn't have a number 1 receiver last year. Body has broken down.
And he tried to throw that on Jason Witten, basically trying to shade Jason Witten. Say, yeah, you didn't have a number 1 because Jason was your number 1. Nah, bro, don't do that. That was you. Because this is what happens. If you're not fundamentally or technically sound at running the route tree, what happens, Skip, when you start to get nicked and you start to get older?
I agree.
You get guys like Larry Fitzgerald that's technically sound. They can move from outside the numbers to inside the numbers and not miss a beat.
Yep. So he's bragging, boasting on Twitter, was Dez Bryant yesterday, about being Mr. 73. That means that he broke Bob Hayes' all-time Dallas Cowboy touchdown record with 73 of his own. Okay, way to go, Dez. But if you're Mr. 73, you are living in the past.
Yeah.
You are clean to what was. So is that going to be your epitaph in Dallas?
Didn't Bob Hayes win a Super Bowl? Was he on that Super Bowl team that first in 74? He was gone because he came with 65, 64, 65. Yeah. So he was gone.
But he simply just changed the way people played football.
Oh, yeah, he got him out of that all-man coverage because he just run by everybody. He changed the game.
He was an Olympic sprinter.
No, not just a sprinter. He wanted to gold medal.
No, that's what I'm saying. But he had world-class speed.
But if you look at the receivers that we think of great, the Pearsons and the Hills and the Urbans, they got something on their resume, Skip. They might not have the most touchdowns, but they got the most Super Bowls.
They got rings.
They got Super Bowls. So I just want to know what you're playing for. You playing for touchdowns or you playing for them trophies?
Good question.
Because in Dallas, I don't know how they do it now, but they used to play for trophies.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure what they're playing for.
That's what they used to play for. Like Mike Tomlin told Willie Parker. Willie Parker said he needed to get his carries up because he's trying to win the rushing title. Mike Tomlin said, I don't see no rushing title trophies up here. I see Lombardi's. I don't see no trophies up there. I don't even know if they got a trophy of Emmett. He's all-time leading rusher in that building.
Is there a Mr. 73 trophy in the foyer of their facility? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know what? That stung. To hear Jerry say we hadn't had a number 1, and Dez has never been an Antonio Brown or DeAndre Hopkins. Man, that hurt Skip Bayless. That hurt him. Because I'm telling you, Skip, the reason why people get so, especially the players, because, see, they use that against you, Skip. Well, you didn't play, Skip. What you know? Dez can't say, Shannon, you didn't play. He can't say, Shannon, what you do.
He can't
say that.
So it's killing
it. It stings them because I come with credibility.
Yep.
And they know I know what the hell I'm talking about. So that bothers him.
Yep. And he's still sitting on his couch without a job. That is sad to me.
But
shocking.
That's our fault, Skip. Because because you and I talked about it, we somehow influenced the general manager. Like they care what they doing their job. We doing our job.
As if we created a false narrative when I think we just created what happened.
Sanjay Lal said the same thing. Will McClay said the same thing. Stephen and Jerry said the same thing. Other analysts that played the game and played the position say the same thing.
Invitation is still on the table for him to join us
It is.
and speak his piece, because that would
Love it.
always help answer some of these questions.
Catch that invitation. You know, we dropped the last couple.
More tweeting.
Because I'm thirsty over here.
You need to look that up before you keep saying that.
I'm thirsty.
I don't know.
You know what?
I don't
am
know.
thirsty. I'm going to go get some Diet Dew right now.
No mercy.
The Patriots are a 3.5-point favorite at home for Sunday Night Showdown against the undefeated Chiefs. New England is 3-2, and they've scored 38 points in back-to-back home wins. On the other side, Patrick Mahomes leads the league with 14 touchdown passes for the Chiefs, and they're coming off a dominating win over Jacksonville. We are joined by Super Bowl champ, former Patriot Brian Cox.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Big game Sunday. What do you expect?
I expect a high-scoring game. Whoever has the ball last has an opportunity to win, but I think the Kansas City Chiefs come away with the victory.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I don't like either of the defenses. I agree with you. I think it's going to be high scoring, but I don't believe that Tom Brady will make the mistakes that Blake Bortles did. I also believe that once they get inside the red zone, Blake Bortles turn the ball over, Tom Brady's going to get touchdowns. And so the question is, now, we've seen him go head-to-head for a little while with Ben, and they outgunned the Steelers. But can he go full quarters in New England, head-to-head with Tom Brady? Because in order to beat them, they've only been, since Tom Brady's been the starter 2005, they've only been a home dog, 4 times. So people are, man, I'm surprised that New England's favored over Kansas City. They're the number 2 power ranking behind the Rams. I'm not. Because as long as Tom Brady's there, as long as Coach Belichick's there, they're probably going to be favored at home because we know what that represents. Now, Skip is probably a little shocked that the spread is not bigger. Vegas don't like giving away their money. So they're going to keep that thing low. They want to try to get some money as opposed to give their money away. But, Skip, this is going to be I'm anxious to see Mahomes as we go along. You said on a magic carpet ride. I don't know if he's 14-2 good, especially in his second year of starting.
Yep.
But the Patriots are a different animal at home. And now that they have all their pieces offensively, they'll slowly integrate Josh Gordon. With Gordon on the outside, now that's going to lessen the double teams on Gronk. You can't double team Edelman. Hogan goes back to his third, maybe not even fourth, as Gordon comes along. Skip, they're a different animal on the offensive side of football.
They sure are. So, as much as I love Brian Cox's opinions, last time he was on here, he was way up on the Green Bay Packers and
I still am.
And not high on the New England Patriots. And you continue to dig in on that because you think Kansas City is going to win at New England. I saw a Patriot team last Thursday night. I saw liftoff. I saw Josh Gordon emerge as the next Randy Moss. I'm not saying he's Randy Moss, but he'll be as close to Randy Moss as Tom Brady has had since Randy Moss. And Tom was confident enough to throw him a jump ball in the end zone, and that was his 500th touchdown pass. And it was the worst decision of the night for Tom Brady because he just threw it up for grabs into double coverage.
Off his back foot.
Those two, off his back foot with a rusher right in his face, and those 2 kids back there, third-year guys, both undrafted. One guy you said just got signed before, but again, one or both of them should have caught the ball at the same time, and Josh Gordon did catch the ball. So all of a sudden, Tom's showing you he's starting to trust that kid, Josh Gordon.
Right.
And again, he hadn't played much football since 2013, but he has Hall of Fame capability. I'm not saying he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, but that he's got that kind of ability at 6'3", 225. They got Edelman back, and obviously nobody is trusted like Julian Edelman is in Tom Brady's eyes. And then they get Trey Flowers back. He's their best rusher, and they got Patrick Chung back as the quarterback of the secondary. And all of a sudden, it started to look like, liftoff.
I don't know about that. Indianapolis offense did a really good job in the passing game against New England's secondary. Now, I would agree that they're getting Trey Flowers back and some pass rush help. But to me, I want to take this a little different spot. Kansas City beat New England up last year's season opener in Foxborough. This matchup is really good. Andy Reid, and I'm going to give Eric Bieniemy some love because for 2 years everybody talked about Peterson, got him a head coaching job, talked about Nagy. I have not heard anybody talk about Bieniemy. Now the difference is Andy Reid's giving Bieniemy a little help because he's taking over the quarterback position and helping with Mahomes because that's not Bieniemy's specialty. But this offense and this combo with these 2 guys, with Andy Reid bringing Eric Bieniemy along, they've done things a little differently than has been done before. Now, I would agree that the defense in Kansas City is a bend but don't break style defense. They're going to give up a lot of yards, but Bob Sutton is a really good coach. He coached me in New York.
Yep.
And when I left New York, he went with Rex Ryan, and Rex Ryan got on that train. And so they run that same kind of style defense. He's not as aggressive as Rex, but he'll get that defense correct. I just think that Kansas City, I didn't give them any love in the preseason, didn't talk about them, but their offense, man, is if you were starting a franchise, you say, I want that offense.
But the thing what concerns me is that when they beat him up last year, Justin Houston, they beat Tom Brady up. And they had Eric Berry. Eric Berry basically took Gronk one-on-one.
He did.
And he did a number on him. He won that one-on-one
You know
battle
what?
with Gronk.
Of all the games I remember, that was the best job I've seen one man do on Gronkowski.
Yes, and so Houston was able to, because I think they sacked Tom Brady like 4 or 5 times in that ball game. And that's what you have to do. You have to get him off his spots. If you do not pressure Tom Brady, you do not get him off them spots, you can't beat him because he'll pick you apart. And like he was doing, he was like telling Edelman, go, Hogan, run the back line. Then he pointed to Josh Gordon. They run up in the stand, get some nachos, come back, and then I'm going to throw it to you.
But it was still against the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
We know what they represent offensively, but I'm still concerned about Kansas City's defense because they gave up 5 bills plus to Blake Bortles.
They did.
That is Blake Bortles now.
It is.
They also picked him off 4 times and forced a fumble.
Yeah.
And one of those interceptions was pick sixed.
And one of them he threw so low, he hit his guard in the helmet. He hit his guard in the helmet, and the ball pops up in there and it get picked off in the end zone. But Skip, you know this. At home, they know Coach Belichick, they struggled the last couple of years in September. 2-2, you know, they do things like that. And everybody, but the Patriots about to fall apart. They're not falling apart.
They're not falling apart. So you brought up Bob Sutton, and I have nothing but great respect for him because he's got some Belichick in him. He is a savant on getting a defense, like bringing it to a boil.
Right.
But they have allowed by far the most yards in the National Football League. So they bend and bend and bend, and a lot of times they break.
That's secondary.
So far, they've just been breaking.
They
them.
have.
But can he figure out ways to at least keep it close, to keep it to a low roar? I don't know.
I think he will. I think he'll surprise you guys. This defense last week kind of, although they gave up a lot of yards because they had a lead to Blake Bortles, I don't think they played as poorly as people will say. They didn't give up points. And I think, to me, the bottom line is when you don't give up points, who cares about the yardage?
But here's the thing. You think Tom Brady will make those same mistakes that Blake Bortles made?
He threw 2 interceptions against Indianapolis.
He did.
Was that his fault? You told me there was Hogan's fault and there was Gronk's fault. That's what you told me.
Well, that's what I saw. Were they not?
But
Did the ball hit Chris Hogan right in the hands?
The balls that Blake Bortles threw, they ain't hit anybody's hands. But the defensive backs.
No, and Brady on his radio show was not a happy camper. He said we should have hung 52 on him.
And had they not had those 2 turnovers, they would have got 52.
Yeah.
Because that's 14 points they basically took off the board because Indy wasn't stopping them.
So I told you earlier, and I'm going to say it again. This might be the classic Belichick game where he goes to Brady and says, he probably didn't even go to him. He just does it. They're going to hand the ball to Sony Michel 30 times. They just might. They might hand it to Devlin a few times. Just hammer the ball and try to keep that kid in the hanger on the sideline.
Well, he might have not gone to Brady, but he probably gone to Josh McDaniels and say, this is a game that we probably need to run the ball.
Yep, like a whole lot.
Yeah.
So win time of possession, win game. I don't think it'll be that high scoring.
It's going to be.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to
It'll
be
both teams will be in the 30s.
Both teams' defenses are not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're putting the spotlight on Kansas City's,
but the
Patriots
defense has to be better than Kansas City's.
Not by much.
Yeah. Wow, you're down on those Patriots.
I am. And it's just a different feel to this team. I know they've been able to score some points in Josh Gordon, but that should have been an interception. Gronk was, I know he's coming off the injury, but he was almost invisible in last week's game. And then Edelman dropped the uncharacteristic ball open on the sideline. They're not the same. And Tom Brady's deep ball doesn't look the same.
Really?
It doesn't look like the fastball it used to be.
I told Skip last week, I said, he was off a little bit, Skip. You said, nah. I said,
so
Skip,
are we suggesting from across the table that he's showing his age?
He won't play to 45.
He will play to 45.
He will not.
I'm on record.
But we're going to discuss that topic tomorrow.
I believe in pliability.
You know what? You believe in rule changes. That's the one thing to help pliability doesn't be caught.
That's right, the rules.
I can't hit you side your head.
45. He looks better than ever to me. I don't know. What do I know?
Stop.
Watch, he'll put on a show Sunday.
Yeah, Mahomes will too. Both of them put on shows.
Brian, thank you.
Thank you.
No mercy. The Eagles lost Jay Ajayi to a torn ACL on Sunday, and some big names have emerged as possible replacements. Reports say the Eagles have reached out to the Bills to bring LaShawn McCoy back to Philly in a potential trade. The Bills are reportedly asking for a second and third round pick, and there have been rumors they've been interested in Le'Veon Bell as well. On Monday, the Eagles restructured Fletcher Cox's contract, creating enough cap space to bring in one of these guys. Shannon, can you see Philly making one of these moves?
No, I do not. And although I know it's tempting for Howie Roseman because he knows he has a finite window and it's tied to Carson Wentz's contract. He knows he has another year after this year, Skip, and they're going to have to do something. Aaron Rodgers is making $33.5 million per year. Yep. It's hard for me to believe that Carson Wentz is not going to be in that ballpark, if not higher. So he knows, and this is why you see guys start to go for it. You see the Rams. They go for it on the rookie contract. I would not be surprised in the upcoming years you see Kansas City go for it on Pat Mahomes' rookie contract. That's what you do. And so LaShawn McCoy, if they were to do one, LaShawn would be more reasonable because he has a reasonable contract.
He does.
Basically $9 million this year, $9 million next year.
And you could prorate this year.
Right.
And then you could cut him after this year if you wanted to.
The baggage that he has in Philly, and there's a pending lawsuit that a woman has some serious charges alleged against him. Now, if you Philly, you're going to have to do your real due diligence because you don't want to make a trade for this guy and the NFL comes and say, nah, bro, you got to sit this thing down for a minute till we work this thing out. That doesn't serve anybody. And then with Le'Veon is the more difficult of the two for the simple fact, Skip. He wants a long-term deal. If he wanted to play for 1 year, he could have went back to Pittsburgh.
Sure.
He wants some reassurances, especially if you trade for him, that you're going to give him a long-term deal.
Okay.
How can they guarantee that, especially at the number that he's going to want? So this is why I think right now you check the waiver wire and you see what's out there, the best available. But I think in the meantime you roll with what you have. So Clement, Smallwood. I think they got a guy in Adams. I was reading that they like him. Yeah. So I think they're going to roll with what they have. I just don't see it happening. Had LaShawn McCoy not had this baggage aside, they know what I mean. He's a Pennsylvania kid, and so they know who and what LaShawn is, especially in that organization. But I think this pending lawsuit makes it a little bit more difficult for them to circle back on LaShawn McCoy. And I think Le'Veon wanting the reassurances that you're going to give him a long-term deal, I think that makes that next to impossible. So I would say there are 0.5% chance on Le'Veon. I say there's a 2% chance on LaShawn McCoy.
2%. You could be right on both counts. But as a lifelong Dallas Cowboy fan, I got to tell you, in all honesty, I live in fear of breaking news from Philadelphia because that GM will go for broke.
Yes.
Howie Roseman has dominated the National Football League for the last 3 years. Dominated it. And the great irony of the statement I just made is Howie Roseman didn't even play high school sports. So occasionally I hear from various people on this show, how do you know you didn't play? Well, how does Howie Roseman do what he did? He didn't even play high school sports.
Probably makes him a little better.
Okay, well, maybe. But again, does he not plunge?
Yes.
Is he not the new Jerry Jones? Is this division not up for grabs right now? I mean, it is just, it hadn't even started yet. Washington's 2-2, Dallas and Philly are 2-3. The Giants look like they're out of it, but suddenly they almost won a game at Carolina. Could they get back in this thing? Sure they could. It hasn't even started yet. Howie Roseman knows that better than anybody. So, did he not arm up going into last season?
Yes.
He went and got Alshon. He got Torrey Smith. They beefed up everywhere in their defensive line. And you're right, the quarterback's on a rookie contract, but so is the one in Dallas. Am I right about that?
I don't know, but you don't hear them talking. You don't hear them rumblings in Philly like you hear in Dallas. And I read the other day say, well, you know what? Maybe Dak is just a fourth-round draft pick.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know, Skip. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but I'm just saying what I was reading.
Even though he had 2 better years than Carson Wentz, but that's okay. So back to the question at hand.
One.
Howie Roseman then went out last year off winning it all And he went and got Michael Bennett and
Haloti Ngata.
He got Haloti Ngata, and he got Mike Wallace, who then, unfortunately for them, broke his leg.
Yep.
So, again, did they not re-beef up for another championship run?
They tried to make a run.
So you made good points, obviously, rational, sound points about especially Le'Veon and then the baggage that LeSean would bring back to Philadelphia. And remember, he had another incident with the off-duty policeman in Philadelphia. Whew. That sounded really suspicious, but he got out of that one. And again, there's some lingering doubt about him in Philadelphia. But look, LeSean McCoy left his heart in Philadelphia, but he left it with Andy Reid because then Chip Kelly came and just snatched his heart because he ran him out of town along with Deshaun Jackson. And it seemed like all the skill players, he was just running out of town. So when LeSean went to Buffalo, he made it real clear, I'm still a Philly guy through and through, born, it's like in my
Pennsylvania
because he's Pittsburgh. But the point is, would he love to go back to Philly? Would he give him his all? And he hasn't been very good because he's been splitting carries with Chris Ivory in Buffalo right now. So he's on probably his final leg.
Yeah, but I think he made the Pro Bowl last year. He played. He played well when he gets the carries, but he's been nicked, and that's from time to time.
And he just turned 30. So is he on diminishing returns right now? He probably is, but they both carried it 45 times so far. LeSean's been better than Chris Ivory, but again, he's averaging 3.8 yards a carry. 11 carries a game. I don't know. Is he better than what Philly has? Yeah. In the best of all worlds, is he better than Wendell Smallwood, who tries hard? Every time he touches the ball, he runs hard.
But I understand what they did, Skip, because Sproles has been there and he's a very good player. But they probably should have moved on from Sproles and maybe tried to coax LeGarrette Blount to come back. Because they were the number 3 rushing team last year.
Number 3
16.
in the league. You don't think that helped the young quarterback?
Of course, because what does that mean? When he's turning around handing the ball off, somebody's not putting their helmet in his back or in his chest.
And he was handing it to LeGarrette and Jay Ajayi.
Right. Now Jay Ajayi is hurt.
Gone.
LeGarrette's in Detroit.
Gone.
And now you got smaller-ish backs trying to carry the load. And so you're asking Carson. But, Skip, for me, I thought the offensive line would be better than what it is. You got 4 guys that at some point in their careers have been Pro Bowl players. Several of them have been all pros. Lane Johnson made the Pro Bowl last year. Brooks made the Pro Bowl. Kelsey's made the Pro Bowl in the past. And Jason Peters, I think, will be a Hall of Famer. So they have a very good, and I thought they would be better getting Peters back and moving Big V back to the, the twos. But they have been bad. You talk about the Cowboys, the Eagles have been equally if not worse.
So they're 16th in rushing, but they don't have a real true number 1 back. Right? And I still fear Howie Roseman because Howie Roseman, what was the biggest little move of the draft? What was the all-time snake job in this past draft? Howie Roseman went up 1 pick ahead of Jerry Jones, and don't underestimate Jerry Jones' impact on the war room in Dallas, that he's going to pull the trigger. He goes up 1 pick ahead of Jerry, and he takes a guy whose name is Dallas Goedert. And I thought he was the best target tight end in the draft. And what happened? He went to Philly, and again, they got Zach Ertz, right? So you strengthened your strength. You got arguably, besides Travis Kelce, you got the second best tight end. I don't know, just on catching the football, is Zach Ertz at the top?
Yeah, he's special.
Okay, and so Dallas Goedert could be special because right now, if he were a Dallas Cowboy, trust me, he would be their leading receiver.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He just would be.
Yes.
And so Howie Roseman snakes Jerry Jones. He goes up 1 pick ahead, trades up to 1 pick ahead of him, and takes the guy they were going to pick. To me, I'm just sure of it. I don't know that for a fact, but they take Connor Williams, and their pride's on the line, so they just force him into the starting lineup at left guard.
Well, they ain't got no choice.
I don't know. Do they? Cam Fleming that they got from...
Well, he's really a tackle.
Yeah, but I think he's so experienced and so savvy that you could have mixed and matched. You could have removed Lyle Collins back to guard and put Cam Fleming at right tackle. I don't know. It's their pride. See, it's the Will McClay factor. In Will, they trust because they're trusting all the kids to come of age slowly but surely, maybe fast but surely.
Right.
See what I mean? So they're just saying we're putting all of our stock in our draft picks. Well, meanwhile, Howie Roseman projected next year on his salary cap going into 2019, they are dead last in cap room by far. They are a minus $28 million.
Somebody's going to have to go.
Okay, somebody's going to have to go. He just redid Fletcher Cox. So they create a little cap room, which would allow them to fit LeSean in if they wanted to. But it would have to be a rental for this year, I assume. You wouldn't want to keep going forward unless you figured it out. But they're projected to be by far the worst cap team next year. And you know what? Do you think he's losing sleep over it, Howie Roseman? Not at all.
He'll probably go for it again next year.
Yeah.
Because, hey, before that option hit, they're gonna tie up Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
It's gonna cost you a boatload of money. It's $100 million guaranteed. That's the going rate moving forward for the quarterback, especially the Jared Goffs, the Carson Wentz's. Pat Mahomes has a while to go, Skip. But that's the going rate. It's gonna be $100 million. So you might as well load up and go for it now.
So going into next year, the Dallas Cowboys are projected 6th best in cap room. Are they using any of it right now? Have they done anything dramatic? Did he make one big dramatic offseason move except for cutting Dez Bryant, who we're going to talk about in just a few minutes here? Did he do anything?
No.
Did you see it?
No.
Because I don't see anything that he's done, and I keep saying, Jerry, where are you? He has a history of plunging.
He lost his stomach for plunging.
I don't know what he did, because he plunged in the oil field. He struck it rich in the oil field. He got rich quick enough to go buy the Dallas Cowboys. And then early on, he plunged for Charles Haley, and he plunged for Deion Sanders, and I can show you lots of little big plunges, and some he swung and missed at. But at least he was known for,
Williams.
I'm going to roll those dice.
And it's funny that you say that, Skip, because he gave up 2 first-round picks for Roy Williams. He gave up 2 first-round picks for Joey Galloway.
Yep.
And now he wasn't even willing to trade a second-round pick because it reported that during the draft they wanted a second-round pick, Seattle, for Earl Thomas. But you gave up 2 first-rounders.
Okay. And again, I'm not saying Sammy Watkins would have changed your life, because he's
better than what they got.
He's way better than what they got, and he can't stay healthy. He's been
That's
nicked and knacked, and he's got all sorts of things going on, but he stays hurt.
Yes.
But the point is, that's usually the move they go make. You cut Dez Bryant, and you just say, whatever it costs, we're going to go get Sammy Watkins, because he is way better than anything we got. And we would have a true number 1 receiver if we could keep him on the field.
Yeah.
So what else has Jerry done? Nothing. Has he plunged anywhere for anybody?
Radio show.
Huh?
He does his radio show,
and he's really good at it.
He drops some sound bites every day.
Oh, we're going to talk about one here in just a little bit. But the point is, I keep waiting for Jerry to do anything, and he just rests on his Hall of Fame laurels. So he's one of you guys now, right?
I mean, he's like, look,
he's over. He's done. He's semi-retired.
I got championships. I got 3 championships. I go to gold
I'm good.
jacket.
I'm good.
I'm good.
What more do I need?
Yeah, what does he need?
So I'll just sit back. We're going to fill the stadium. We're still going to have the best ratings. We're the
I'm 1.2 billion clear of any other franchise.
Yeah, we're the most valuable team in the whole world.
$5 billion.
Yeah. So what does he care? Well, unfortunately, he doesn't care.
But guess what? That doesn't hurt him. It hurts you.
Yeah, kills me. Because my team's pretty good. It's like right on the verge of being
I wouldn't
real
go that
good.
far. See,
it's pretty
see,
good.
I was siding with
my
you.
defense
I was
was
siding with
really
you.
good.
And then you
my
ruined
defense
it.
is really good.
I know you.
My quarterback and running back are really good.
Jenny, I was siding with him, and
I
he's the
know.
type of guy. He always going to add too much.
But you know what you
hot sauce
need?
to ruin the dish.
You just need your general manager to make one move that sends a signal to the locker
He
room.
can't.
I just did this for you.
The
Let's
general
go get
manager's
it.
upstairs.
Huh?
The general manager's upstairs above
what
the
I said.
general manager that has the title.
No, he's the general manager.
Jerry.
Jerry's
Okay,
the
yeah,
general
you-
But I'm
okay,
saying you have to signal your locker room. You send a message. We are going for broke. I just gave you guys somebody, Earl Thomas, whoever it was going to be. It can't be Earl now, obviously. That will make the difference for you to go win the NFC East. Because remember, if you win the NFC East, do you make the playoffs? Yes, you do.
Oh, you probably go, and you go get a home game.
Okay, so if you win the NFC East at 9-7,
You're not going to win it, so stop trying to
I
talk
win
that
a
it's-
whole bunch of do.
You're not going to win it, though. You're not going to win it, though. So you might as well get that thought out your head.
Yep.
I just feel confident in what
Get
you
that
do
thought
back.
out of your head.
You're haunted by that.
No, I already know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We'll see. No mercy. So Odell Beckham Jr. received a lot of criticism for his interview with Lil Wayne by his side when he called out Eli and the coaching staff. Yesterday, Odell was asked about it and said, quote, "We're moving forward. My teammates, my brothers, there's nothing that can come between us. The Giants even played Lil Wayne music. Practice yesterday, seemingly making fun of the situation." Skip, you actually had a conversation with Wayne last night about this whole situation. So what did you learn? What did he tell you?
So, Jenny and Shannon, Wayne did call me yesterday, and I'm not going to characterize him as angry, but his pride was hurt, and he was confused and baffled by what he views as the unfair criticism that he received for his role in the Odell interview. And he asked me to share his thoughts here on Undisputed, his view of how the interview actually went down. Now, before I proceed with those thoughts, I also spoke to Josina Anderson about how the interview went down. And I want to be very clear about this. I respect her greatly. I respect the way she does her job, and in no way am I criticizing her for the way she did her job in this case. But here's Wayne's side of the story. Wayne said he did not agree to do this interview because Odell was involved. In fact, originally, when he agreed to do the interview, the sit down with Josina, he didn't even know Odell was involved. So they went to a restaurant that had been closed down, I think in the afternoon in Manhattan, and he was surprised Odell was there, and they sat down very quietly with Josina, and the opening line of questions all came to Wayne, and they were all built around the album that had just dropped, Carter 5, the lyrics, the new lyrics in the album, and it was all about, according to Wayne, his life and times. And he told me he got very emotional in his answers, which he is very capable of getting, and he just spilled his guts about incidents in his life, the highs and the lows of his life, to the point that he got tears in his eyes and had to take his glasses off during this interview. Then the line of questioning changed to both him and Odell, because they're both from New Orleans. Obviously, ESPN had a big game on Monday night in New Orleans. Right. And the questions were about, what does home mean to each of you? And also they talked about their tattoos, because Odell has a tattoo of Wayne on his thigh next to Bob Marley, because Wayne to Odell is legendary. So then the questions turned to Odell and the Giants, and Odell spilled, as we know. And Wayne believes that Odell got swept up in the emotional and open-hearted tone that Wayne had set early on in the interview. And so, number one, Wayne did not appreciate the criticism that he was there somehow to hold Odell's hand in the interview, or that he was just some hanger-on in Odell's entourage, because Wayne doesn't need to be in Odell's entourage, right?
Yes, he can stand alone.
And number two, Wayne wanted to point out very clearly that Odell, in his view, did not go there with an agenda to spill on the Giants, that he got caught up in the emotion of the moment and was very open-hearted and honest in his answers to Josina's very good questions, and that it came across like he was spilling. And yet Josina points out that ESPN did use some of the Wayne interview, along with Odell, in an earlier piece that aired for about 6 minutes long, which on TV is a long piece, earlier in Sunday NFL Countdown on ESPN, before the Odell bombshell interview aired a little later in Countdown, okay? So she said, we did use some of Wayne, and she also concluded with me when I spoke to her this morning that she hopes to use a majority of the Wayne interview in something she's going to post on YouTube. But when Wayne walked out of the interview with Odell, they were a little baffled by what the tone of the interview was, because they weren't sure where it was all headed. And Wayne wasn't even sure in the end it was for ESPN, because obviously ESPN doesn't have the kind of platform show that Wayne would be talking about his life and times on.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yes.
So it was just all a little confusing. And then Wayne felt like most people just saw the Odell bombshell interview with Wayne just sitting alongside, and it made Wayne look a little silly. Right?
I got that very thing, Skip,
okay.
Because a lot of people ask me, like, why would Josina doing what she does, work for ESPN, an interview with Odell would be no problem? Why would Lil Wayne be there? So that was the question that I got a lot,
I thought that too.
Be that as it may, at the end of the day, and Lil Wayne deserves every right to defend his credibility. At the end of the day, Odell still said what he said.
He said it. And by the way, he stood by every word of it. I haven't heard him backtrack.
And for him to say, well, I got my brother's back, you didn't have Eli's back because you threw him under the bus.
Okay.
You didn't have Pat Shermer's back because you threw him under. We're getting out schemed. They don't scheme me. Teams are out scheming us.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
So
you're right.
I'm trying to figure out what do you mean that you have your brother's back? You just threw them under the bus.
Okay.
And now you got, because you catching criticism and the blowback, because Pat Shermer made it abundantly clear. He made it crystal clear. He did not agree with anything that he said. He said, let me be perfectly clear with this. You asked me earlier, and he's like, I'm going to be done with it, but I do not agree with what he said.
Okay.
So I get Lil Wayne right. Defend yourself. If you don't feel you were portrayed in a positive light, if you don't feel you were portrayed in the manner in which you went in there to do this interview, you have every right. And I think you said, Skip, he's gonna address it further, maybe on his own Twitter.
No. Well, she's going to post the Wayne part of the interview, more of it on YouTube.
Right.
Go ahead.
I don't get why they're attacking Lil Wayne. I mean, even if he was there, I mean, what they got? What? Odell's a grown man.
Okay, he didn't need Wayne to hold his hand, and Wayne didn't go there to hold his hand.
No.
Odell said what he said. So, as you like to bring up, when they were in Paris, where was Lil Wayne at then?
Okay, it's fair.
When he traveled with Drake, where's Lil Wayne then?
Okay.
So now all of a sudden, Odell speaks something, and the Giants, it blows back up in his face. Now it's Lil Wayne's fault.
Okay.
Odell grown man. So where was Odell on that boat when they went to Miami, Skip? When they was getting ready, should have been preparing for a game in Green Bay.
Well, Odell was on the boat.
Where was Lil Wayne?
He was probably asleep in Miami at that point.
So
Has he been up all night?
interesting. Other times when Odell is being Odell, it's Odell's fault.
Yep.
Now Lil Wayne shows up. Now that's Lil Wayne's fault.
Okay, but is it fair for Wayne to suggest that Odell, and I'm not trying to give him a pass here, but that he did get swept up in the emotion of the moment in this interview? Did that make him more pliable, more susceptible to spilling?
Remember?
Probably it did.
That's what happened to him on the field, but I thought we was beyond that. Remember that with Josh Norman? He got caught up in the moment.
Yeah.
I thought he was beyond that now, Skip. He had grown. He was ready to be a leader. He was ready to be that guy. And guess what? He getting swept up in the moment? So how can you ever be a leader if you're going to get caught up in the moment, Skip?
Okay.
Because you got to take emotions, you got to take moments out of it. You can't get carried away like that, no matter who's there. I'm just speaking solely as an athlete. You must understand, given the setting and given what you're talking about, you're going to carry more weight, even though Lil Wayne is a bigger name. But when you're talking about sports, and Odell, you're talking about, now, if Lil Wayne had said something about Bam, if he had said something about Drake, or he had said something about Nicki Minaj, well, Complex or one of these hip-hop, they're going to run with that.
Sure.
But since Odell said something about the Giants and Eli Manning, guess what? ESPN's going to run with that. And rightfully so. They should.
I would too.
So let's not absolve Odell.
No, we're not absolving him. But in Wayne's view, his quotes to Josina were at least as powerful as Odell's in his own realm. They were personal about Wayne, but he thought, wow, mine were bombshell too, but I'm being characterized as I'm just along for the ride here.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, Skip. Me criticizing a hip-hop artist is one thing. Another hip-hop artist criticizing a hip-hop artist is something entirely different. Lil Wayne criticizing the Giants, or maybe Eli or Pat Shermer, that's okay. Yeah, did you hear what Lil Wayne said about the Giants? But that guy's in the building.
Nope.
That's what made these so inflammatory. That's why it was so powerful.
Okay. So, Jenny Taft,
Yes.
you have conducted many interviews of your own.
Yeah.
What is your view of all of this?
Well, I think it's a good point that you make about Josina, because I don't know her personally, but I respect her work, and I think she does a really good job with sources and stories, and she asks very good questions.
She does.
I don't believe that she would have gone into this interview without laying out the expectations and the goal of where these stories would go. And that's the part I'm questioning. Did Odell not realize that his words would be used for ESPN? Did he not realize that this was something he can't say whatever he wants and forget? He's talking to a reporter.
Exactly.
I mean, this isn't just a conversation with your friend
Fair.
Wayne.
Nope, you're right.
And that's on him. I think she did her job. I also question that the Giants said they didn't know about the interview.
They did not know.
That worries me, because that may affect Josina moving forward. And those are
good point.
Very careful lines that and I'm, I haven't been in it probably as long as her, but I'm almost maybe too cautious of that, because if you're ever having these conversations, those relationships with your team are everything.
Well, for a reporter, that's the only way you can survive.
Obviously, there was no Giant representative, as in PR guy, on the scene on this just to make sure it went right.
Because normally what happens, Skip, is that they say, okay, Shannon, such and such want to do an interview. Then you're like, okay, when and where? Is it going to be at the facility, or is it going to be at my home? Is it going to be at a different location?
And for what?
They normally map out all of those things. Well, obviously, Josina have relationships with a lot of players.
She does.
So she might have went straight to Odell and said, Odell, can you do this interview? And obviously, Wayne, she had to go through Wayne, or maybe she has Wayne's information, or however it is.
She went straight to Wayne.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and by the way, Josina said she also talked to Wayne last night, so they They got it straight. Yep.
So maybe Josina did not talk to the Giants. Maybe she went straight to Odell because she has a relationship with Odell. Because a lot of times, Skip, you know, you have sources. You got guys that you can call on certain teams. I have guys. You have guys that you can call. I don't go through the team. Hey, man, can you get this message to such and such? I just call the guy directly. So maybe that's what Josina did. But I hope she didn't do that, Skip, because it's going to hurt her relationship with the Giants. Because Odell is not the only one that you're going to want to talk to. There's Eli, there's the coaches, there's also other people, and that hurts your chances of getting further information from that team.
But Odell is the guy.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that Wayne, though, reached out to you because it is nice to hear the full story behind an interview like that. And I hope we do hear what he said because I'm looking forward to that side of it.
It's an honor to express his opinions. And the bottom line was he was just shook up by all this because he didn't think it was fair to him.
Right.
So now you know his side of the story.
All right. I'm glad we have it.
No mercy.
Thanks for listening to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm Jenny Taft. Join us again at the same time tomorrow morning, 9:30 Eastern. We'll see you then.
Fox Sports, one of one.